You probably know someone like this. Maybe it's even you. They're the friend who remembers your birthday, who notices when your "I'm fine" doesn't sound fine, who stays on the phone at 2 a.m. when your world is falling apart. They apologize first, even when they weren't wrong. They give and give and give. But when they're finally alone, standing in front of the mirror, all that kindness just disappears. The compassion they hand out so easily to everyone else, they can't seem to keep any for themselves. Instead, they see every flaw, every mistake, every reason to believe they're still not good enough. So here's the question I want to sit with today. How can someone spend their whole life caring so deeply about other people and still be so brutal to themselves? The answer isn't just low self-esteem. In most cases, it starts way earlier than we realize, long before we're old enough to ask whether the lesson was even true. Here's something surprisingly hopeful. You weren't born too hard on yourself. The brain doesn't come into the world believing you're not enough. It learns what to believe, especially in childhood, when our earliest relationships quietly shape how we see ourselves. Psychologists call this attachment. It's the emotional bond between a child and the people who care for them. When that bond feels safe and steady, the brain links love with simply existing. You matter because you're here. But when affection only shows up when you're obedient, or successful, or helpful, the lesson gets rewritten. A kid who's praised only for being perfect starts to believe that mistakes make them less lovable. A kid who gets warmth only after fixing everyone else's problems learns that their value comes from being useful. None of this is conscious. It becomes what psychologists call an internal working model. Basically, a mental blueprint that tells your brain what to expect from relationships and from yourself. And over time, that blueprint gets efficient. The brain strengthens it through repetition, like walking the same trail through a forest until it's the easiest path to take. Every criticism confirms the old belief. Eventually, self-criticism stops feeling like a habit. It starts to feel like the truth. And here's the sad part. These beliefs often outlive the situations that created them. The people who first taught the lesson may be long gone, but the brain keeps playing it on loop, all by itself. Now, from the outside, these people just look kind, thoughtful, patient, almost impossibly understanding. But underneath that kindness, the brain might be doing something more instinctive than compassion. When a child grows up somewhere, emotional safety feels unpredictable. The brain often becomes hypervigilant. That's a fancy word for a simple thing. Instead of relaxing, it stays on alert, constantly scanning for signs that something's about to go wrong. A shift in someone's tone, a pause that lasts a beat too long, a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. The nervous system treats those tiny cues the way a smoke detector treats the faintest wisp of smoke. Not because danger is certain, but because missing it once felt too costly. Do this long enough and it becomes automatic. While everyone else is just having a conversation, your brain is quietly asking, "Is everyone okay? Did I do something wrong? How do I fix this?" That's why these folks so often become the peacemakers, the ones everybody leans on. They apologize fast, smooth things over, and carry emotional weight that was never theirs to begin with. From the outside, that looks like extraordinary generosity, but deep down, it may have started as something simpler. A way to hold on to connection and avoid getting hurt. For a lot of people, kindness like this isn't just a personality trait. It was once a survival strategy, and years later, the brain is still running the same program. But maybe the hardest part isn't what happens with other people. It's what happens after everyone goes home. Someone tells them they did an amazing job. They smile and say thanks. But instead of feeling proud, their mind starts looking for the loophole. They were just being nice. If they really knew me, they'd take it back. Then a few days later, they slip. They forget to reply to a text. They say something a little awkward. Most people would move on, but their mind files that moment away and replays it, like proof the praise was never earned. This isn't because they enjoy beating themselves up. It's partly how the brain is wired. Psychologists talk about a negativity bias, our tendency to remember painful moments more vividly than good ones. Way back, that helped our ancestors survive. Forgetting a pretty sunset cost you nothing. Forgetting a dangerous mistake could cost you everything. Now add a childhood that tied love to performance, and that survival system gets personal. The self-schema, the deep-down story you carry about who you are, starts filtering everything through one question. Does this prove I'm still not enough? Compliments get treated as exceptions. Criticism gets treated as proof. Over time, that question grows into what psychologists call the inner critic. And here's what makes it so convincing. It usually doesn't shout. It sounds calm, reasonable, familiar. After enough years, it stops feeling like an opinion and starts feeling like plain fact. The heartbreaking part? These people aren't seeing the world through a broken lens. They can spot beauty and potential in almost anyone. The distortion only shows up when they look inward, like a mirror that quietly bends every reflection, magnifying the flaws, shrinking the strengths. For a long time, helping other people feels like the answer. If I can comfort one more friend, solve one more problem, maybe this quiet ache will finally go away. And at first, it kind of works. There's a real hit of meaning when someone says, "I don't know what I'd have done without you." For a second, the critic goes quiet, but it never lasts. The next challenge shows up, and the old question comes right back. Have I done enough? Here's the trap. The brain isn't measuring how much kindness you give. It's measuring whether the old belief has changed. And if that belief still says my worth depends on what I do for others, then no amount of giving will ever feel like enough. This gets expensive. Carrying everyone's worries while ignoring your own drains you. Not because you care too much, but because you rarely give yourself the care you hand out so freely. Psychologists have a name for what comes next: compassion fatigue. You still want to help, but the energy that used to come naturally just isn't there. Small requests feel huge. Rest doesn't recharge you. Left long enough, that becomes burnout. Not the kind from working too hard, but the exhaustion of believing your worth has to be re-earned every single day. And maybe the most painful part is self-neglect. Your own needs get so unfamiliar you can barely recognize them. You put off rest, you wave off your own emotions, you shrink your own pain, because someone always seems to need help more. So you keep giving, hoping one more kind act will finally prove you're enough. But the brain doesn't rewrite an old belief just because it gets more evidence against it. If the original story stays untouched, it just raises the bar. Yesterday's sacrifice becomes today's expectation. Until the story itself starts to change, the search for enough has no finish line. But here's the part that deserves just as much attention. The same brain that learned all of this can learn something new. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's lifelong ability to reshape itself through repeated experience. That doesn't mean painful memories vanish, or that you can erase years of self-criticism overnight. It means something quieter and more realistic. The paths that got carved in through repetition can slowly be reshaped by new experiences, repeated over time. Which is why real change rarely starts with staring into a mirror and forcing out the words, "I am worthy of love." If those words don't match what your brain has believed for years, they don't heal. They just feel hollow. The brain isn't that moved by declarations. It's moved by evidence. So it updates through small moments that gently push back on the old story. Letting yourself accept a compliment without instantly explaining it away. Letting someone support you instead of insisting you've got it handled. Taking a break without telling yourself rest has to be earned. Saying no without deciding you're a selfish person. These sound ordinary, but to a brain that spent years equating worth with usefulness, they're brand new. Each one quietly offers a different possibility. that your value doesn't vanish the second you stop proving it. That's what self-compassion really is, not some soft, feel-good idea. It's the slow practice of treating your own struggles with the same patience you already give everyone else. Not because you finally got perfect, but because perfect was never the price of deserving care in the first place. And maybe the hardest skill of all is learning to receive. Giving feels safe because it keeps you in control. Receiving asks for something scarier. It asks your nervous system to believe that someone could care about you without you earning it first. Do that enough times, and the brain gets the one thing it actually needs to change: a sense of safety. And inside that safety, the old belief slowly loses its grip. So maybe you've spent years thinking the problem was just you, too sensitive, too emotional, never quite enough. Maybe you mistook that critical voice for honesty and figured being hard on yourself was the only way to get better. But what if that voice was never really you? What if it was just a lesson your brain learned so early and repeated so often that it started to sound like your own? Maybe you never actually hated yourself. Maybe you were just speaking to yourself in a language your nervous system picked up, long before you got to choose your own words. And if you want something practical to take with you, try this. Just once today, catch that critical voice in the act. Then ask yourself one simple question: would I say this to someone I love? You don't have to argue with the thought. You don't have to win. Just notice the gap between how you talk to them and how you talk to you. That gap is where the new story begins. It won't rewrite your past. It won't erase every hard thought you'll have tomorrow. But it can slowly change how you respond, so those thoughts stop feeling like facts and start sounding like echoes of an old story that doesn't get to run the rest of your life. If you saw yourself somewhere in this conversation, know that you're far from alone. And if understanding the hidden patterns of the mind helps you make sense of yourself and the people you love, stick around for the next one, where we'll look at why the people who fear being too much so often end up feeling invisible. Because sometimes the first step towards seeing yourself with a little more compassion isn't changing who you are. It's finally understanding why you've seen yourself this way all along.